係點樣處理嘅。
Envolocom 處理工場係目前歐洲其中一間最大型嘅廢電器電子處理廠，每年呢係可以處理10萬噸廢電器電子產品，回收量佔全英國大約係10%。透過先進又安全嘅處理技術進行回收、修復、循環再用，令到呢一啲廢物重新變得有價值。
到底 Envolocom 點樣喺英國成功實施 WEEE 生產者責任計劃？
Well, Envolocom works very closely with certain key suppliers of raw material here in the UK, and we run both the producer compliance scheme and a recycling facility here in our location in Grantham, and that means that we're able to be a one-stop shop for the producers of WEEE, as well as those organisations that collect WEEE in the designated collection facilities, that they're able to bring that product here and get it recycled in a way that's consistent with the legislation and actually with levels of quality that exceed the legislative minimum. And we're pushing the next step of the legislation, which is to look to reuse first and recycle second. That's been on our agenda for quite some time now.
Which part of the technologies contributes the most to this kind of high recycling rate?
Probably the technology-wise will be the fridge plant here, where there is, other than the manual labour that you see at this front end, everything else is automated. Okay, so what's happening here is the fridges, after they've had the gases and the oils drained from them and they're taken away for treatment and storage, the rest of the fridge comes down here, where there's an automated in-feed chute which is all driven from a computer monitor over there. And what's happening is the machine itself is deciding how many fridges to take in one batch.
處理雪櫃係 Envolocom 其中一個強項。工人將雪種、機油等等嘅物料清除之後，運輸帶係會將一步一步嘅雪櫃運入去破碎機，破碎機就會旋轉，令到雪櫃咧係粉碎，得出嚟嘅就係各種嘅原材料，好似塑膠、金屬等等。呢一啲嘅原材料會分類放入袋，然後咧就當作原料去銷售。整個過程以及每一個步驟都符合安全同埋環境嘅標準。
Right, so as you can see, what's been brought out here is just the steel. You can feel it, it's actually still warm. And that's been separated from the other metals now. And it comes out as a nice, clean steel, which can be sold direct back to the refiners who are able to put that straight back into the smelting process to manufacture other steel products. So the only other labour that's involved in this process is actually here, where there's an aluminium and copper mixture that comes out. So from the point that the fridge enters the chutes, all the other separation technologies are done automatically, but because aluminium and copper are both non-magnetic, the machine can't separate them out.
So what are they picking up?
So they're picking out the copper, these little bits here. And what they do is they're separating that copper so that can go as pure copper that is being sent away to market.
嗱，至於喺英國肯特郡呢一度咧，佢叫 Sweep 嘅回收場，呢一度咧可以處理各種唔同類型嘅廢電器電子嘅產品。如果遇到一啲特別嘅客戶，好似金融機構咁咧，有啲唔要嘅電腦要佢哋回收，佢哋仲有特別嘅技術咧，可以清洗電腦裏邊嘅硬碟嘅資料，等啲電腦嘅資料唔會外泄，亦都等啲客戶有信心咧，係將佢哋嘅電腦咧可以交俾佢哋回收處理㗎。一陣間咧，我會同呢度嘅其中一個負責人 Justin 咧去了解一下，究竟佢呢度有啲咩特別嘅技術去做回收嘅。Can you give us some ideas in terms of figures? How much recycle rate is handled here in the factory?
Of course. Well, we actually recycle about 4,000 old-fashioned televisions a day and 1,600 tonnes of electronics through our MUIQZ plant. That's about 10 tonnes an hour of commodities that might have otherwise been going to landfill. So we actually run a very tight mass balance year on year, and 2010 was our best year, and we recovered 94% of everything that came into our plant. So we get visibility across our weighbridge of inputs versus outputs, and that works at 94%, with that small rubbish fraction actually going to create waste to energy. So even that isn't landfill from SWEEE.
So Justin, that is a very secured place, right?
Yeah, this is another part of SWEET's operation, that you can imagine all the high-profile brands don't want their products going back onto the marketplace, unless they genuinely want them to. So, they don't want that leakage. So we're kind of protecting people's brands by having this very secure reception area.
一啲嘅電腦硬盤呢係包含咗商業企業嘅資料，而呢一啲嘅資料可以係一個安全保密嘅情況之下呢係完全刪除嘅。
So there are some recycling bands you're cooperating with. So how can people find them?
Well, it's got to be easy to get people to recycle, obviously. So the government has paid for a website called Recycle Now, that you literally just type in your postcode, and then they'll actually direct you to your nearest recycling bank or the household waste site. So it's a very handy way for people to know where to take the right thing for recycling. As I say, crucially, if you want people to recycle, you've got to make it as easy as possible for them to do it.
Exactly, yeah.
睇過喺英國廢電器電子產品嘅回收同埋妥善處理嘅過程，咁呢一啲回收同埋處理嘅費用係由邊個去承擔呢？嗱，根據污染者自負呢個原則，咁梗係由電器電子產品嘅製造商同埋用家等等去共同承擔啦。嗱，跟住呢，我哋會去了解一下英國喺2006年實施廢電器電子產品生產者責任計劃之後，各個持份者所需要分擔嘅責任。佢哋包括咗產品嘅製造商、品牌代理、零售商同埋消費者等等。
In regard of the cost, how can you make the cost of a WEEE invisible to the consumer?
The cost of recycling is part of the cost. It's like manufacturing cost. It just comes at the end of life. And so we can build that into the product cost overall. And we don't believe it needs to be made separate and distinct from any other cost that you would have of producing that piece of equipment.
From HP's point of view, what would you say about WEEE? Is it a good scheme? Or?
It's definitely a good scheme. I mean, it's definitely reduced the amount of waste electronics going into landfill, which was really the primary objective. We design our products to be easier to recycle. We make sure that we design out the materials that make them difficult to recycle. We design ways of taking the products apart so you can separate out the different material streams. And we design our products to do that, but of course we get back a selection of everybody's products. And we don't think at the moment that this collective responsibility really rewards companies who make efforts to make their products better for the environment.
Well, Christy, what kind of impact do you think the WEEE PRS has on the UK?
We have definitely seen the amount of WEEE being recycled increased, and the UK has overachieved on its targets. The targets from the directive were 4 kilograms per head of population. The UK is achieving over 7 kilograms per head of population. So I think it has had a very positive impact from that perspective. People are aware of what they should do. Most people, of course, are aware of what they should do with their electronics and recycle them and not throw them in the trash. So I think it's a good thing from that perspective.
How does HP and those stakeholders of the WEEE create a win-win situation?
But the compliance schemes are there as an interface between tens of thousands of producers and hundreds of municipalities and thousands of collection points, and you need some sort of middleman management in there. And I think that's why it's been successful in the UK, is because of that competitive environment.
Company that takes it to recycle it, maybe they have something in the process where they sell it on.
Well, I mean, where I live, I think it's pretty good because you don't get like fridges and you don't get TVs dumped everywhere. So I think they do a pretty good job.
It's quite good, you know. In this country, we never used to do it before, but we recycle now.
I think it helps the environment.
嗱，英國對於廢電器電子產品嘅管理制度同埋處理技術咧，真係好值得香港去借鏡嘅。不過喺英國，廢電器電子產品生產者責任計劃咧係由市場主導嘅，而市民亦都需要自行將廢電器電子產品拎翻去零售店或者拎去各個地區設立嘅回收中心。 下一集我哋會去到台灣，當地由1997年開始，由政府主導全面性推行生產者責任制，實施回收4合1嘅計劃，由生產者、消費者、政府同埋回收業共同去承擔廢電器電子產品嘅回收處理。我哋一齊睇下呢一種推行模式之下，實施廢電器電子產品回收嘅成效又會係點樣？